MTG suddenly retiring or announcing that she's quitting the House of Representatives. I don't know if we should play her statement because it's like 10 minutes long.
Let's play some of it. I have it here.
All right, go for it.
Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream.
And this comes after, Trump attacked her and called her Marjorie Taylor Greene because she broke with him over many issues, including the release of the so-called Epstein files, and also because she broke with him over Israel and became the first Republican to call Gaza for what it is, a genocide, and said, she actually wanted to uphold America first, not Israel first. And so I'm surprised, though, to see her resigning. I thought she was in it, but I guess falling out of favor with Trump in her political situation just becomes untenable, on top of falling out of favor with the Israel lobby, which also is very, very powerful.
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene came into Congress campaigning as the ultra-MAGA congresswoman. I don't know if you remember, her first campaign ad was her holding an AR-15, I think, an assault rifle, campaigning on the basis of Second Amendment, anti-immigrant stuff. She was very anti-Palestinian for much of her tenure. She voted with the GOP on all of their measures to slash healthcare for Americans. She complained about, during the inflation crisis under Biden. She joined the chorus of the GOP correctly complaining about the high price of infant formula, baby formula, and the unavailability of baby formula, but then voted against subsidies to make it easier to afford baby formula. And when Trump got into office, something changed. Remember, she actually attacked JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, when they protested the genocide in the U.S. Capitol and said this is an insurrection. She led the charge to censor Rashida Tlaib for condemning Israel. And then something began to change. I mean, it had already been changing. She was emerging as, I think, one of the most articulate opponents of the Ukraine proxy war. And she then began to speak out about the Gaza genocide. She noticed that Palestinian Christians existed. She started to stand apart from her peers on that issue, to the point where she was actually condemning AOC for not voting to cut off so-called defensive weapons to Israel as well as offensive weapons. And she really became like the moral voice on Palestine, other than Rashida Tlaib, in the House. And then finally, she broke with Trump and Mike Johnson and the Republicans on Medicare when they were going to cut ACA subsidies for Medicare for Americans, because there were so many people in her district who didn't want their Medicare cut.
And her own family too, and her own family. And Trump basically lied to his base, because he never said that he would cut Medicare, and then he supports the shutdown of the government in order to do it. Trump's base was never in favor of cutting Medicare. So she in many ways was standing with the base, but also she was getting out ahead of the curve, because the support for Zionism has collapsed among the Republican grassroots. There's no support for anything Trump is doing to threaten Venezuela. I think only 30% of Trump voters, according to a new YouGov poll, support
his show of force and potential regime change war against Venezuela. It's all gone. So she was kind of emerging as the moral voice along with Thomas Massie. AOC has accused her of quitting in order to basically make money and avoid the political consequences and backlash she would get from Trump, and said that, or pointed out that she quit 2 days after she was eligible to receive her pension, and accused her of massive amounts of insider trading using the financial intelligence you get as a House member to increase her wealth from $700,000 to her personal worth to something like $25 million through stocks. I don't know if that's true. That's what she's accused of doing. I think being in the House is so, and especially as a Republican member, is so thankless under Trump, where he demands total loyalty for an agenda that's gone so far awry, that she has a better future as a political pundit. I could see her being on The View. She's getting treated to favorable interviews by CNN, which was calling her an anti-Semite who believed in Jewish space lasers just a few years ago. Her stock has really risen inside the Beltway and across Middle America. She could probably run for president in a Republican primary. So I think getting out at the right time. And now Thomas Massie's sort of alone, exposed to the wrath of Donald Trump and his Israel First billionaires who are pumping money into his district to support his ouster. What do you think?
I don't have much to add. I think obviously she said so many things over the years that were so offensive, including recently, like after Zohran Mamdani won, she tweeted out an image of the Statue of Liberty, in a burqa, right? So, whatever transformation she's undergone still has its limits. But so all that said, I appreciated that she was a rare Republican willing to call out the genocide in Gaza. As you said, she voted against the Iron Dome, whereas a progressive like AOC didn't. And that was admirable. And she also, from the start was a staunch critic of the Ukraine proxy war. And she exposed that on certain issues, or she was one of the Republicans who exposed on certain issues like the proxy war in Ukraine, Democrats were basically handing the anti-war mantle to Republicans like her, because unlike a faction of House Republicans, every single Democrat, including the Squad and the whole Progressive Caucus, everybody voted every single time to fund tens of billions of dollars for the Ukraine proxy war, whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene did it. And she would actually use that to mock people like AOC when they would, when AOC would talk about progressive values, and she would say, like, why are you voting for a proxy war? So, and that was admirable, even though she did so many things that, of course, were so offensive and bigoted and racist. I mean, like the attacks on Rashida Tlaib among them. But it seems like recently she
got in a tussle with Cori Bush early on. She basically was just confronted her in the hallway. They were pulling off earrings and taking off the high stiletto heels. She was very aggressive in the halls of Congress early on. But I think she kind of the culture changed her.
Yeah.
And I think she is leaving a different and generally better person
100%.
than the one who arrived to impress Donald Trump and what she thought. And it does. She is really channeling a part of the MAGA base that is sort of fed up with the fake polarizing politics.
Yeah. And on the issue of healthcare, I mean, the fact that she was willing to call out her party on that, to call out the betrayal of working people on that, on not extending subsidies, even though Obamacare is a totally dysfunctional program. The Republican option was basically just to give people even less and to let these subsidies run out and throw 20 million, make healthcare even more expensive for 20 million people. And her point was that Republicans have no alternative, that they attack Obamacare, but they don't present their own plan, because their own plan is simply to continue with even more devotion to this for-profit healthcare system that doesn't provide people with the healthcare that they need. And so she was the only Republican willing to call that out, with the exception of sometimes maybe Josh Hawley. I think that was really admirable, and along with everything she did on the Gaza genocide. But I guess, if you go against the Godfather, if you go against Trump, it's really difficult to survive, especially if you're also going against Israel. And yeah, it was time for her to bow out.
Yeah, she'll be better off. She was about to get murked, or should I say kirked? I don't know. It's not a situation that I would want to be in. I don't know what it's like to be under that kind of pressure, especially from someone who essentially made you.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're still in the golden age. It's Trump's golden age. It's all collapsing and being exposed for what we saw at the Kennedy Center, where Elon Musk promised to end poverty through AI. You know, the heads, all the AI warlords were there at the Saudi U.S. investment forum to plead for MBS and his public investment fund, which is actually not as flush as we thought, to pump their AI companies full of liquid so they can continue to build new data centers and power the future to end poverty, which will actually wind up unemploying masses of Americans. And I don't know, maybe Sam Altman's plans for UBI will save them from complete poverty and being liquidated like the surplus humanity of the Rust Belt that was outsourced after NAFTA was through the opioid crisis. But I don't think so. And maybe MBS's petrodollars will prevent the bubble from popping sooner than it would have. But I think actually what it's done is inflated the bubble. That's the golden age. That's what this whole administration is about. It's about enriching a small class of loyal oligarchic cronies and imposing a regime of terror on the rest of masses, including some of the figures who made MAGA what it was, Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene.